How corporatism shapes democracy in modern society. Explore the complex relationship between corporatism and democracy, and how corporate power impacts government decisions and public interest today. Corporatism and democracy in modern society, what's really going on? Hey, I've been thinking a lot lately about how our society is structured, and honestly, it's kind of confusing when you look at the relationship between corporations and democracy. Like, on paper, democracy is supposed to give power to the people, right? Everyone votes, voices their opinions, and elected leaders make decisions based on the public's interest. But then you have corporatism, this idea that big companies have a huge influence over government policies and just about everything else. It can feel like these two systems are at odds with each other, but in reality, they're tangled up in a way that's difficult to separate. What's crazy is how often corporatism isn't talked about seriously in everyday conversations. It's not just about big brands selling you stuff. It's about the power they hold behind the scenes. Think about lobbying, campaign financing, and even how certain industries, like pharmaceuticals, affect government decisions. Pharmaceutical profits, for example, have a major impact on healthcare policies that affect millions of people. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm all conspiracy theorist here, because not everything is a government conspiracy. However, there are definitely moments where it feels like some decisions made by politicians are more about protecting corporate interests than serving the public good. Sometimes these overlaps lead to untrue allegations being flung around, muddying the waters further and distracting from the real issues. Corporatism means corporate entities have power similar to government. Democracy is about individual citizens having power through voting. In modern society, corporations often fund campaigns and lobby intensely. Sometimes corporate interests, like pharmaceutical profits, influence policy decisions more than public interest. Untrue allegations and misinformation can hide the real influence corporations have. The tricky part is getting a clear picture of how democratic ideals work when you add corporatism's influence. Does the average voter's voice really hold the same weight when corporations are throwing millions of dollars into election campaigns or regulatory bodies? It's not an easy question, and most people don't realize how intertwined these forces are unless they look closely. Another layer here is how the media covers all this. Often, the corporations that influence politics also have stakes in media outlets or advertising. This can shape how news stories are told or what gets attention in the first place. If corporate interests are aligned with certain narratives, the public may only get part of the story, or an altered version altogether. That's why it's important to be critical consumers of information and seek out different perspectives. It's also why stories that challenge these dynamics are so refreshing and necessary. Speaking of which, I recently came across The Ultimate Frame, a novel by Andrew M. Semple. It's thrilling, packed with intrigue, and it really makes you think about power, control, and the lines between truth and propaganda. If you're curious about the sorts of challenges these ideas pose in a fictional but believable setting, I'd definitely recommend checking it out. Discover this thrilling novel by Andrew M. Semple today. Click here to learn more and see why it's becoming a must-read on these very themes. Ultimately, the balance between corporatism and democracy in modern society is messy, complicated, and ongoing. We all play a part by staying informed and asking questions. Who benefits from this policy? Who's really making this decision? And how do we ensure that the government truly represents the people's interests and not just corporate profits? That's a lot to unpack, but it's crucial if we want to understand what's happening behind the scenes and maintain a government that's accountable. Thanks for listening. And if you want a gripping story that explores some of these issues through a suspenseful lens, don't miss out on The Ultimate Frame.